Assalamu alaikum, sisters. Peace and blessings. I hope that you guys are doing well. Alhamdulillah, it is 6:28 for me. It is Saturday and I have homework to do. It's week 12 for my anthropology, cultural and social anthropology. It's Anthro 3. And then I have psychology 1A homework. So I'm a little behind because I had some issues and I haven't been able to get back on track. So I'm reading chapter 12 of, this is for my anthropology class. It is chapter 9, race and ethnicity. So basically my professor this week is basically the module objectives is to understand why anthropologists reject biological explanations for racial differences, explain the rise and persistence of racial categories in North America and elsewhere, identify cross-cultural variations in racial and ethnic ideologies, clarify how I can never say this word. Prejudice, discrimination, and unearned privileges upholds an unequal social order. Just watched a lecture he gives a pretty good lecture like every week. Like he'll sit down in front of his computer and talk, and yeah. So I'm taking it in Berkeley Community College. And so I have to read chapter 9, race and ethnicity, which is a free book. It's perspectives of an open introduction to cultural anthropology. There's a party or something, a neighbor. I can hear a bunch of kids. But yeah, so I'm gonna read this chapter. Then there's another. The door's gonna slam. The door is open right here in the wind. There's required reading A and B. So I'm reading chapter 9, race and ethnicity. The thing about this, there's so many pages. This chapter has 29 pages. The next reading, I don't even know how much that is. Let me open it in a new tab and see. Okay, this is okay. This is American Anthropology Association Statement on Race. So it's gonna be interesting because I want to see what they think about it, what they're basically saying, why they reject biological explanations for racial differences. So it's gonna be interesting to see, especially because America, the USA, Northern America has a lot of history. So it's interesting to see what anthropologists think. So yeah, and then I also have a multimedia material. I have to watch the entire film of Race, The Power of Illusion, episode 3, The House We Live In. And then I'm going to do a discussion. Normally my work is like, we'll do a discussion. So we'll do a race discussion. But it's funny how, I think I mentioned it before, for like political, what was it? For politics, the chapter of politics, we didn't have a discussion because I feel like currently what's going on in Palestine and everything, I felt like he just didn't want to engage in conversation about that. So, that's what I think because... yeah, that's what I definitely think. And I know he did not do a discussion that week because of that. Because we were talking about like politics and how states were created and like just cities and countries are created and that kind of stuff. So, but yeah. So I'm reading chapter 9 right now. And basically the learning objectives, define the term reification and explain how the concept of race has been refined throughout history, explain why a biological basis for human race categories does not exist, discuss what anthropologists mean when they say that race is socially constructed concept, and explain how race has been socially constructed in the United States and Brazil. Girl, I can't wait to get into the one of United States. Like, I'm really interested in knowing what the USA has to say. Identify what is meant by racial formation, Heido descent, and the one drop rule. Describe how ethnicity is different from race. What do you want, mama? She's trying to climb. Like a little studying session that I'm doing right now. Although it does take me several hours to study and I don't have enough time. I wish that I can literally focus on just studying. It would be so amazing. Suppose someone asks you the following open-ended questions. How would you define the word race as it applies to a group of human beings? How many human races are there and what are they? For each of the races you identify, what are the important or key criteria that distinguish each group? What characteristics or features are unique to each group that differentiate in it from the other? Discussion about race and racism are often highly emotional and encompasses a wide range of emotions, including discomfort, fear, defensiveness, anger, and insecurity. Why is this such an emotional topic in society, and why do you think it is difficult for individuals to discuss race dispassionately? How would you respond to these questions? I pose these thought-provoking questions to students enrolled in an Introduction of Cultural Anthropology course just before we begin the unit on race and ethnicity in a worksheet, and ask them to answer each question fully to best of their ability without doing any outside research. At the next class, I assign students to do small group of 5 to 8, depending on the size of the class, and give them a few minutes to share their responses to the questions with one another. We then collectively discuss their responses as a class. Their responses are often very interesting and quite revealing and generate memorable classroom dialogues. Dude, what are you? That's the name of this next paragraph. Ordinarily, students select a college major or minor by carefully considering their personal interests, particularly subjects that pique their curiosity, and fields they feel would be a good basis for future professional careers. Technically, my decision to major in anthropology and later earn a master's degree and doctorate in anthropology was mine alone, but I did tell my friends and students only partly as a joke that my choice of major was made for me to some degree by people I encountered as a child, teenagers, a young adult. Since middle school, I have noticed that people, complete strangers, classmates, coworkers, and friends, seem to find my physical appearance confusing or abnormal, often leading them to asking me, like, what are you? What's your race? Others simply assumed my heritage as if it was self-evident and easily defined. And then I don't even know what that word is. I need to tell my doctor that I've been having a lot of brain fog because it's literally interacted and I couldn't sometimes some words I look at them and I'm just like, what? With me, was self-evident and easily defined, and then interacted with me according to their conclusions. So these subjective determinations varied widely from person to person and from situation to situation. I distinctly recall, for example, an incident in a souvenir shop at the beach in Ocean City, Maryland, shortly after I graduated from high school. A middle-aged merchant attempted to persuade me to purchase a t-shirt that boldly declared 100% Italian and proud of it, with bubbled letters that spelled Italian shaded green, white, and red. Despite my repeated efforts to convince the merchant that I was not an Italian ethnic heritage, he refused to believe me. On another occasion, during my mid-20s, while I was studying for a doctoral degree at Temple University, I was walking down Diamond Street in North Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, passing through a predominantly African-American neighborhood. As I passed a group of 6 male teenagers socializing on the steps of Roundhouse, one of them shouted, "Hey, honky, what are you doing in this neighborhood?" Somewhat startled at being labeled a honky, something I had never been called before, I looked at the group and erupted in laughter, which produced looks of surprise and disbelief in return. As I proceeded to walk a few more blocks and reached a predominantly Puerto Rican neighborhood of Lower Kingston, three young women flirtatiously addressed me as Poppy, an affectionate Spanish slang term for man. My transformation from honky to Poppy in a span of 10 minutes spoke volumes about my life, history, and social experiments. Comments below, but my transformation from honky to Poppy in the span of 10 minutes spoke volumes about my life, history, and social experiences, and sparked my interest in cultural and physical anthropology. Throughout my life, my physical appearance has provided me with countless unique and memorable experiences that has emphasized the significance of race and ethnicity as professional. A lifetime of questions, assumptions from others regarding my racial and ethnic background have cultivated my interest in these topics. I noticed that perceived race and ethnicity, much like beauty, rested in the eyes of the beholder, as individuals in different regions of the country and outside the United States often perceive me as having different specific heritage. For example, as a teenager living in New York County, Pennsylvania, senior citizens and middle-aged individuals usually assumed I was white, while younger residents often saw me as Puerto Rican or generally Hispanic or Latino. When I lived in Philadelphia, locals mostly assumed I was Italian American, but many Puerto Rican, Mexican, and Dominicans in the city of brotherly love often took me for either Puerto Rican or Cuban. My experiences in Southwest were a different matter altogether. During my time in Texas, New Mexico, Colorado, local residents, regardless of their respective heritages, commonly assumed I was Mexican, of Mexican descent. At times, local Mexican Americans addressed me as carnal, pronounced carnal. The way they pronounce, but the pronunciation is funny. A term often used to imply a strong sense of community among Mexican American men that's somewhat akin to frequent use of the label brother among African American men. On more occasions than I can count, people assume that I spoke Spanish. Once in Los Angeles, someone from a Spanish language television network, Univision, attempted to interview me about my thoughts on the immigration bill.
Mama, make a dinosaur.
Baby, I don't know how to make a dinosaur. She keeps giving me my really good printer paper and having me make paper airplanes while I'm trying to study. The boys are at the gym right now, by the way. Here you go, sweetie. Univision attempted to interview me about my thoughts on immigration bill pending in California legislation. My West Coast friends and professional colleagues were surprised to hear that I was usually assumed to be Puerto Rican, Italian, and simply white on the East Coast. And one of my closest friends from graduate school, a Mexican American woman from Northern California, once memorably stated that she would not even assume that I was half white. I have a rather ambiguous physical appearance: shaved head, brown eyes, a black mustache, a goatee. Depending on who asks, I have either a pasty pasty white or somewhat olive complexion. And my last name is often the single biggest factor that leads people on the East Coast to conclude that I am Puerto Rican. My experiences are examples of what sociologists Michael Omi and Howard Winant in 1986 referred to as racial commences, a deeply entrenched social belief that other...
Make a dinosaur house.
Okay, here you go, the airplane. That other person's racial and ethnic backgrounds are obvious and easily determined from belief glances and can be used to predict person.
Mama, make a dinosaur.
Okay, baby. Cannot necessarily be accurately determined based on physical
Mama,
appearance
make a
alone.
dinosaur.
An individual race does not necessarily determine his or her culture, which in turn not determine personality, yet the perceptions remain. Did he ever say what he was? Because we're just hearing what he, yeah. Okay, so now the next part is anthropology, the science of race. Anthropology was sometimes referred to as the science of race. During the 18th and 19th century, when physical anthropologists sought a biological basis for categorizing humans into racial types, since World War II, important research by anthropologists have revealed that racial categories are socially and culturally defined concepts, and that racial labels and their definitions vary widely around the world. In other words, different countries have different racial categories and different ways of classifying their citizens into these categories. At the same time, significant genetic studies conducted by physical anthropologists since the 1970s have revealed that biologically distant human races do not exist. Certainly, humans vary in terms of physical and genetic characteristics such as skin color, texture, hair texture, and eye shape.
No, make a dinosaur.
But, sweetie, I don't know how to make a dinosaur. I done made this girl like 1, 2, 3, 4 airplanes. One more over there. Okay. Shape the various.
Mama,
okay, sweetie, like this. 1, 2, and woo.
My turn.
Eye shape, but various variations cannot be used as criteria to biologically classify racial groups with scientific accuracy. Okay, sweetie. I've been playing with her all day. I'm barely doing my homework right now, so you know how kids are. Ready, set, and wow, that is cool. Okay, I'm about to finish this reading and then be done. Let us turn our attention to understanding why humans cannot be scientifically divided into biologically distinct races. The next one is race and discredited concepts in human biology. So I'm going to read this. I'm seeing some celebrities' names on here, so it's going to probably talk about like, yeah, concepts in human biology, so we'll see. But yeah, let me know if you like these videos, because I could literally do these in the morning for like 2-3 hours and just, this one is going to be pretty long, but if you're interested in social and cultural anthropology, you know, and psychology, one day I can share with you guys what I'm like reading and stuff. But yeah, salam, sisters. See you guys later.